afternoon. Welcome back to Football League World TV. It's time for a midweek preview show, and this afternoon, we're looking at tonight's EFL games in the Championship, League One and League Two. I'm your host, Dagless, and joining me this afternoon are Toby Wilding and Marcus Alley. Toby, how are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. Some really intriguing games as ever coming up this evening. So, looking forward to getting into running the rule over a few of those.
Good stuff. Marcus, how are you?
Yeah, really well. Thanks, George. Always interesting to see how the clubs deal with these quick turnarounds, particularly at this stage of the season where a lot of the squads are quite worn out at this stage. So I think it should make for some interesting action tonight. So yeah, looking forward to previewing it.
Yeah, plenty riding on plenty of the games we're going to run through in the next 25 or so minutes. Wherever you're watching from, get in touch with us across Facebook, YouTube and Twitter. We are live, of course. Let us know, are you going to a game this evening? What are your predictions for your side? Let's get going though. We'll start as ever with the Championship. We'll start with Sheffield United against QPR. Two sides in the playoff mix still, although QPR are certainly threatening to drop out, and Sheffield United's form hasn't exactly been spectacular of late either. Toby, we'll come to you first of all. Who's this the bigger game for, do you think? Sheffield United or QPR?
Well, that's a good question. It's massive for both, isn't it? But I think I'm tempted to just about say Sheffield United because of how important their home form is at the minute. I mean, you sort of look at the sort of recent runs, and you know they've still been reasonably solid and been picking up some decent results at Bramall Lane. But when they've been away from home, as we saw again this weekend, they just can't seem to get the goals or get the wins that they need. So that really puts a huge amount of emphasis on what they're doing on their own turf, and especially in a game such as this against a side in QPR who are obviously as well as the Blades in that playoff mix. You know, it's a real big chance for them to put down a marker against a rival who aren't in the best of form. That you know could almost potentially really sort of take QPR to some extent out of the mix. Certainly cut them further adrift of the top six. So for me, I think this just looks like a really big chance for Sheffield United that they simply have to take, given the fact that it feels like it's home form or nothing for them at the minute. Although obviously, you know, we saw the reports at the weekend from a QPR perspective. It's massive for Mark Warburton as well, isn't it? With those questions that are coming out about, you know, his position at the club, which for me, when you look at what he has done for QPR on the whole, seem very harsh. But even so, it's one of them, isn't it? It's a results business, and it shows how desperate teams can get for that sort of short-term improvement that they sometimes need at a certain stage of the season just to make sure they meet their aims, which obviously in QPR's case is a top six spot. So yeah, it's an absolute massive game for both teams. But I think just given the fact that this home form seems to matter so much for Sheffield United, just means for me it might be a slightly bigger game for them.
Okay, Marcus, what do you make of what the situation at QPR in particular and Mark Warburton? Reports seem to be that potentially if they lose tonight, he could be out of the job. Do you think that's fair? And how do you think that's going to impact the way Rangers go about their game this evening?
Do I think it's fair? Not in the slightest, to be honest. I think he's done a great job, and it would be a ridiculous decision if they do choose to part company with Warburton. As Toby hinted towards, looking at where he's taken them in just coming up to 3 seasons, I think, in the job, from a side that was looking like they were heading towards League One to a team competing at the other end of the Championship. I think he's done a great job, and I think he should maintain the full backing of the supporters and the board going into next season to give it another crack and a chance to build on what has been a very promising campaign. As for tonight, I think they will be very low on confidence. It is just 2 wins from 11 games. Even looking at the season at the whole, it is positive, but going into the match tonight, it is hard to see where a positive performance is going to come from, or a positive enough performance to really challenge the Blades, considering how well they've been playing at home. I do expect a response from the defeat at Fulham, and I think Ilias Chair will definitely come back into the starting 11 after being on the bench against Fulham, recently coming back from international duty, of course. That will give them something extra in the final third. I think he could possibly play a front 2, chuck Charlie Austin up top with Lyndon Dykes, although it'd be interesting to see if Dykes survives the quick turnaround, having started at the weekend, considering how in and out of the side with fitness problems he's been this season. So I think it's a tall order for them to take anything from the game, but I think they'll be competitive. They always are. We saw at Nottingham Forest, they led for a large period a couple of weeks ago until the Reds really got their act together in the closing exchanges. I definitely think this is a difficult match for Sheffield United, and that they'll need to be at their best to take maximum points off the West Londoners.
Yeah, you do have to wonder, don't you, just on the Mark Warburton situation, who could have really done a better job this season? But for large portion of the campaign, kind of delivering on expectations, you do feel as though he might deserve another season. But that's the way football goes. Sometimes there is obviously every chance he could lose his job if they do lose tonight at Bramall Lane. Wayne's got in touch on YouTube. Good to have you with us as ever, Wayne. Sheffield United should win 3-1 against the Hoops. Toby, what's your score prediction for this one?
Yeah, I'm sort of very tempted to sort of agree with Wayne there. I think with the sort of the strength that Sheffield United do still have at Bramall Lane and the sort of stuttering form that QPR are in at the minute, I can see this being a home win. I'll go 2-0 Sheffield United.
Okay, Marcus, are you back in the Blades as well?
I am, yeah. I'll go 2-1, maybe a little bit more close. I am expecting Chair to have an impact, but I really can't trust their defence at the moment, to be honest. Sheffield United, even with a bit of an injury crisis at the top of the pitch, it has to be said. It'd be interesting to see if Jebison gets his second start of the season tonight. But I am expecting the Blaze to have enough to get over the line 2-1.
Yeah, I'm going to side with the Blades as well. I'm going to go narrow victory 1-0 to Sheffield United. And one other game to talk about in the Championship, it's a Lancashire derby, Preston against Blackpool. Two sides that don't really have anything to play for now at this point in the season. Neither of them are going to be going down. Neither of them are going to be going to the Premier League either. Toby, what kind of atmosphere can we expect at Deepdale? I guess both sets of supporters will be expecting attacking football really from their respective sides, given that the leash can come off both teams.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it should be a pretty entertaining watch, this one. As you say, the pressure's off. Neither side really need a result in terms of the league table, at least. But absolutely, in terms of the pride to play for, there's so much. And, I would really expect to see both these sides going for it. I think, obviously, there's been certainly quite a lot made on social media about the ticketing allocations for away fans at both fixtures between the two this season. So that just, as if it needed it, adds a little bit more spice to this and a little bit more incentive for both sides to really, go out there and do their fans justice. And as I say, because there's nothing riding on it, and because it's a local derby, and form really can go out of the window in these sorts of games, it should be a really good watch, I think, and I am expecting goals from this one.
Yeah, it should be a good one. I'm guessing the dog that you've got at your home currently, Toby, is a massive Blackburn fan like you, because as soon as I mentioned Preston and Blackpool, he went absolutely nuts.
I think maybe missing a delivery here, but never mind.
Yeah, trained him well. Marcus, as for these two teams, both managers have been very complimentary of the other. I think it's fair to say that they're two of the brighter managers as well in the EFL. Who do you think, though, can be happier with the job they've done so far this year? I guess you'd probably have to say Neil Critchley, given that Blackpool, it's easy to forget, were a League One team last year.
Yeah, I'd have to edge towards Critchley. I think the position that Ryan Lowe inherited was still favourable to at least keep Preston sort of pushing towards mid-table. So I would edge towards Critchley in regards to that. But there have been a lot of positives, and promise shown to suggest that Preston can get back to sort of pushing towards the playoff conversation as they did under Alex Neil in recent years. I'm kind of leaning towards the way the South Wales derby panned out in this one, not in a sense that I think someone's going to win 4-0, but in a sense that it's very unpredictable because neither side has too much to play for. And we could see what was a very surprising result. Obviously, the Swans run it out 4-0 winners. I can see it being a lot closer than that, but yeah, I'm finding it difficult to split the two teams. I think Preston have probably showed better form in the second half of the season, where Blackpool have fallen away a touch, but I think that's just the size of their squad taking its toll really naturally. Although Emil Reese's goals at the top of the pitch have dried up a little bit. He scored just once in his last 11 games, so he'll be hoping to get some bragging rights for the Preston fans. I'm sure. I think Blackpool won 2-0 in the reverse fixture or something like that. So they'll be looking to inflict revenge. Should be almost a better atmosphere, I think, because the fans will be seeing this one as possibly the most important game left on the calendar for them. So yeah, I'm expecting a decent atmosphere under the lights. But yeah, a tightly fought encounter between two evenly matched sides.
Yeah, this should be a fun one to watch, really, for the neutral. I think both fans will be obviously right up for it, knowing that, at least there's no relegation or anything like that could follow from a potential loss to your arch rivals. Toby, let's get a score prediction from you for this one.
Yeah, as Marcus is saying, it does feel tough to split them at the minute. I mean, Preston's form, he's not great coming into this one, just the one win in the last 7, but they are at home and they are really going to want to give their fans something to shout about in this fixture more than any other. But again, as we say, Blackpool have been equally impressive this season when you consider it's their first season back in the Championship. And I just think, with the pressure off both these sides in terms of they don't need to worry really about, promotion or relegation, it means they can both just go for it. So I think that this could be quite a high-scoring trip to the fence with a 3-3 draw.
Okay, I think a fair few neutrals will enjoy seeing that play out. Wayne on YouTube is going for a Preston win by a 2-1 scoreline. I personally fancy a 2-2 draw between these two. Marcus, how do you call it?
Party pooper. Draw as well, but I'll go 0-0.
Oh, that was really, really boring, especially after I bigged it up so much. Hopefully you're wrong, and hopefully there'll be plenty of goals at Deepdale for us to enjoy when the highlight show comes around later on in the week. But that rounds off our Championship chat on the Tuesday night preview show. Up next, we're going to talk League One. And we'll start with Fleetwood's game against Lincoln. Toby, this is, I think it's probably fair to say a bigger game for Fleetwood at the moment. The way it is down at the bottom of League one victory could potentially be enough at this stage, the way it is. How are the Cod Army going to deal with it, though, tonight? It's a game that probably feel that they can get victory from, but actually doing it, as it's proven for much of the season for them, is another kettle of fish altogether, if you pardon the fish pun there.
Yeah, it's a big game for Fleetwood, isn't it? I mean, you sort of look at the table, Lincoln 10 points clear at the minute. That should be them just about home and dry for the season in terms of ensuring they're not going to get dragged into that relegation zone. So, that potentially takes a bit of the pressure off them. And after that win over Charlton at the weekend, sorry, Marcus. And so yeah, that might just allow Fleetwood to really sort of put the pressure on them a bit more. And it was a massive result, wasn't it, for Fleetwood at the weekend to end that winless run against Crewe, and the nature of it as well. I think obviously with Crewe bottom of the league, it was one that Fleetwood will have targeted to pick up a big 3 points, and obviously they did that the way that they came back. Obviously they took the lead, then got pegged back. But they responded to that well in the second half, and they showed sort of a really good, strong mentality to pull away and get a 3-1 win. So that will give them a lot of confidence, a lot of belief going into this one. Good for them to have Ellis Harrison among the goals again. I thought that was a pretty eye-catching signing for them in the circumstances in January, and so to have him on the score sheet is really promising for me from a Fleetwood perspective. So I do think they'll be confident coming into this one of sort of getting a solid result here. And as you say, it's one that with some of the fixtures that are coming up for other teams in that relegation mix. If the Cod Army can get a win here, then it really does give them a good chance to put some breathing space between them and the bottom 4.
Marcus, is that something you'd agree with? Do you think a win tonight for Fleetwood, it obviously mathematically doesn't make them safe, but it could be quite a big leap towards survival, couldn't it? Especially, you look at, the amount of matches the other teams have played. Fleetwood have played a couple less in some cases, or at least one less in the rest of the cases. So this is a big opportunity for Fleetwood, isn't it?
Yeah, confidence-wise, I'm sure it'd be enormous if they were able to get a win tonight. It would sort of push them a little bit away from Gillingham, who they're just above in the table, but have played 2 games less than. I know we were all expecting Gillingham to to sort of make their safety quite comfortable, I think, in the next month or so. But if Fleetwood are able to push a little bit of a gap on them, then that'll certainly put them in a commanding position. I'm not buying into it though, to be honest. They've won just one win in their last 14 matches, and because it came against Crewe Alexandra on Saturday, I am kind of writing it off a little bit. I think that they've lost so many games in a row now, sort of stuck at the bottom of the league. I feel like if they hadn't won that game, we would have gone completely the other way. So I'm trying not to go too big on Fleetwood. Yeah, it is important that Harrison and to score 3 goals for them, which they have been finding very difficult, will definitely be a confidence booster. But yeah, I'm not sure. Lincoln come in there, possibly one of the most unpredictable teams in the EFL, I think, this season. So at their top level, they're still probably a side that could compete in the top half, but they just haven't been able to show it on a consistent basis. Morgan Whittaker will be suspended after his red card at the weekend, but they've got the likes of John Marquis and Tom Hopper on the bench who can come into the starting 11 and start tonight. So I think it's a difficult game for Fleetwood. They've got that carrot in front of their nose that they can build a big cushion if they are able to get the victory, but I'm not so sure that they will.
Okay, we'll see what happens. Wayne's going for 2-0 victory for Fleetwood up against Lincoln. Toby, what's your prediction here?
Yeah, I'm going to go for Fleetwood as well. I think it might be a tight one though, but I can just see them getting all 3 points here. I'll say 2-1 Fleetwood.
Okay, Marcus, I'm going to guess that you're going against a Fleetwood victory at least tonight.
Yeah, I'll go the other way, 2-1 Lincoln. When they hit their straps, they're still a side that's a little bit reminiscent of last season, obviously losing lots of players in the summer. So I do think they're the better team here. And yeah, I'm not buying too much into beating Crewe 3-1. I think most teams in League Two would probably fancy their chances of doing that at the moment. So yeah, Imps to get the win. Although Fleetwood, even a point at this stage of the season would be a good result for the Cod Army at home.
Okay, I'm going to go 1-0 Fleetwood, just for the record. I think they might just be able to build on that Crewe win, even as Marcus says, there's probably a lot of teams that might fancy their chances up against Crewe at the moment as things stand with the Railwaymen. One other game to talk about in League One, that's Morecambe's clash against Oxford. Toby, I guess for Morecambe, even though they won at the weekend, not the ideal game to follow it up with against a playoff chase in Oxford, is it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is sort of one of the games I was referencing just then when I spoke about the fixtures for other teams in that relegation mix that present that as an opportunity for Fleetwood, because this is a huge task for Morecambe. I mean, it was a big win for them at the weekend, 3-0 at home to Burton. In every sense that really it will give them a lift coming into this one, but this is an entirely different proposition for them. I mean, Burton are one of those sides who already at this stage of the season, they're not in the promotion mix and they're not going to get relegated. So, it was almost a bit of a free hit for the Brewers in terms of, the result, whichever way it went, wasn't going to have a huge impact on their season. And it's a very different situation for Oxford, isn't it? Especially after that defeat at Plymouth at the weekend. They really need to respond quickly to that, I think, as well. Obviously, there was the red card for Burton on Saturday that certainly helped push things in Morecambe's favour in that game. So, yeah, I mean, Oxford are going to be a much bigger challenge for the Shrimps, even if they did have the boost of getting Cole Stockton back on the score sheet after what's been a much quieter few weeks and months for their top scorer. So I think, yeah, whilst there was definitely positives for Morecambe, and it does still keep them sort of within reach of survival, I think it's just going to be a bit too much of a task this time around for him against an Oxford side who, again, as Morecambe do, really need a result here to stay in that top 6 picture.
Yeah, I mean, Marcus, Oxford's, lost at Plymouth at the weekend, and they're in the midst now of a run of games where they're playing a side between now and the end of the season. Every team that they're coming up against has something riding on it. They're not playing any mid-table finishers, are they? They've got Morecambe, obviously, tonight, then Sunderland at the weekend. Then the final 4 games are Fleetwood, MK Dons, Rotherham and Doncaster. I mean, as it stands, all of those teams are playing for something. We'll have to see how it pans out between now and the end of the season. But Oxford need to rise to that challenge, don't they? They need to respond tonight to make sure they don't start losing ground on that top 6 race.
Yeah, quite suddenly, I think it looks like Oxford are up against it. I think when they were scoring all these goals since the turn of the year, it looked like they were a side that was definitely going to cement their place in the playoffs. I think it's 2 from 4 in that race, really, in terms of who's going to finish fifth and sixth. You've got Sheffield Wednesday and Sunderland currently occupying the places, and then Oxford and Wickham just outside on the same points. And yeah, you can't really pass up a match against a side battling towards the bottom of the league. Obviously, Morecambe as well getting a monkey off their back after a really long winless run at the weekend. And even though Burton had a red card, Morecambe were in the lead before Burton were reduced to 10 men and extended that lead to 2-0 very shortly after. And I think that might have seen Adams sort of stumble across a little bit of a blueprint, because this squad built under Stephen Robinson was definitely trying to play way more attacking football than they were under Derek Adams last season. He's come in and tried to shore them up defensively, which had to be done because they were conceding far too many goals to have any chance of staying in the league. But I think seeing them win 3-0 and how convincing it was against Burton, even when they're against 11 men, should sort of give Adams a little bit of a push to play more on the front foot. And when you're playing a team like Oxford, that is the best thing you got to do. You got to fight fire with fire, because they are probably going to score tonight, but compared to the sides around them gunning for the top 6, Oxford are not as strong defensively, and that's definitely where Morecambe can hurt them. So yeah, it's a chance to sort of have a go at the Yellows while they're down. Obviously, it was a tough loss to take against a playoff rival at the weekend, but as you say, that could only increase their motivation for tonight. It is going to be a really interesting match with a lot on the line at both ends of the table. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. I think there could be quite a lot of goals.
Yeah, no, I think fighting fire with fire is quite a good way of summing this up, Marcus. You look at it, 2 teams have scored 124 league goals between them so far this year, but they've conceded 129 league goals between them. So there's plenty of opportunity for goals you would expect, at least, tonight between these two. Toby, we'll come to you first. So what's your score prediction here?
Yeah, I mean, I think Morecambe, as we've been touching on, are coming into this one on a bit of a wave after that win at the weekend, and they will make it hard for Oxford, certainly on their own turf as well. But I do just think that Oxford are going to have a bit too much. I'm going to go 2-1 to Oxford.
Okay, Wayne's thinking similar. He's going for a 3-1 victory for the Yellows this evening. Marcus, how do you see it going?
Yeah, same as Wayne. I'm going to go 3-1 Oxford. I do think that's the best approach for Adams to be attacking going forward, but I think Oxford have just got a little bit too much quality and, yeah, should be able to bounce back from the weekend.
Yeah, you do expect Oxford to respond as well. They do need to, don't they, after that loss at Plymouth for the week. I'm going to go 3-2 to the U's against Morecambe. Okay, time for us to move away from League One. And before we go on Football League World TV this afternoon, we're going to talk League Two. We'll talk Forest Green against Mansfield. First of all, Toby, it's another opportunity for FGR to take another step towards promotion, but obviously Mansfield are going to provide a very stern test, you would think, this evening.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Forest Green really have started to hit a few hurdles, haven't they? In sort of the past few weeks, they had that run of 7 games without a win, and obviously they've sort of put an end to that in the last couple of games against Colchester and Scunthorpe. But when you sort of look at the nature of those results, they haven't exactly been convincing, have they? 1-0 against 2 sides who are right at the wrong end of the table, battling against relegation, and you sort of think earlier on in the season they would have been much more statement wins from Forest Green in terms of the scoreline. So definitely, I think that's going to be a concern, particularly now that they're coming up against the Mansfield side, who are very much in this promotion picture. And, they're going to be coming into this one, sort of really targeting this as a chance to put their own marker down, obviously, after a good win against another promotion contender in Northampton at the weekend. And as well, the other big twist we've got here, obviously, is the injury to Matty Stevens for Forest Green, who's obviously out for the season and probably sadly a bit beyond that, having done his ACL. That's going to be a massive blow for Forest Green, isn't it? With the sort of the contributions that he can make. So yeah, it looks like whilst Forest Green have sort of stopped the rot of it in the past couple of weeks, I can see this being a really tough fixture for the League Two leaders tonight.
How much confidence, Marcus, do you think Mansfield can take from that victory over Northampton at the weekend into tonight's fixture?
Yeah, a lot, because they've still got to play Forest Green twice this season. I think they're going to have them on the final day in the reverse fixture. So getting a win over a team around you should definitely build a lot of confidence. A narrow margins one as well, just 1-0, really had to grind it out and stay in the game. But yeah, a huge result. And Mansfield, with the games in hand, of course, are in such a strong position to secure automatic promotion. I really like their midfield at the moment. Forest Green, of course, play with so much energy under Rob Edwards, but I like the likes of Matty Longstaff, George Lapsley and Ryan Stirk all in there. Great engines on them. I think they'll be able to match the intensity from Rovers. So yeah, I think Mansfield should have nothing to fear really tonight, because they're in a great position that even if they do lose this match, they can still get back on track with the games in hand. And I think it could end up working in their favour, although it seems intimidating at the time. I think for the 2 times you've got to play Forest Green this season, I think in this final stretch where on the last day when they play them, they could already be crowned champions. I think that could end up being favourable when we look back on it. But yeah, I think it's the toughest game in the season in the calendar. But yeah, Mansfield should come into it with nothing to fear.
Okay. Wayne's actually back in the Stags to get a 2-1 victory against FGR this evening. Toby, how do you see it going?
Yeah, I can see a similar result as I was sort of saying, with the loss of Stevens and the fact that they really haven't been sort of hitting the form they were earlier in the campaign. I think this is going to be a tough one for Forest Green. So I think I'm actually going to go 2-1 Mansfield as well.
Okay. Marcus, you back in Mansfield too?
No, a bit more faith in Forest Green. I think with the finishing line in sight, they've got 2 home games this week, so tonight and on Saturday. It's just slipped my mind who they've got on Saturday. But if they win both, I think they can pretty much lose their last 6 games and still seal automatic promotion. So I think that should see them sort of get up for this one and potentially be a little bit more defensive, because a point is still a good result at this stage of the season, particularly with Stevens' injury, of course. So I think they might hold the Stags to a 0-0 draw. So another thrilling prediction from me.
Yeah, I'm going to sit on the fence too, though, in fairness for this one, Marcus. But I do see at least a couple of goals. I'm going to go for 1-1 draw between these two. One final game to talk about in League Two this evening is Salford against Port Vale. Is it Peterborough then? Port Vale. Salford City, Toby, in great form at the moment. Won their last 4 games in a row, making a late surge, aren't they, for the playoff spots? And obviously it's so congested as well, just above them. Hitting form at the perfect time, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at Salford, that, as you say, they have come from deep, but that, we often talk about this, don't we? You can see it so often, that sort of side sort of coming from really deep down in mid-table and just stringing a run together at this sort of stage of the season that propels them into the playoff places. And right now, Salford are sort of showing the potential to do that. And this is another big opportunity for them to do that, isn't it? I mean, victory here and they do go into the playoff places. And obviously, as well as that, it really is a chance for them to sort of lay down a statement against another genuine automatic promotion contender. So it's sort of a massive opportunity for Salford. I think one that they will be relishing, given what they've been doing to teams sort of in the past few weeks. Really, really sort of strong run they've been on now. And yeah, I do think that Salford are going to have a lot of confidence coming into this one, and they will be. They'll definitely have to look to put the pressure on Port Vale, because they're not, obviously they're not going to be an easy task by any stretch of the imagination. And what that does do, I guess, is just certainly sets this up to be a really entertaining game. There's it's a quiet fixture list in League Two tonight, just a couple of games, but 2 really good games to keep an eye on.
Yeah, a really big game, isn't it, as well? These two up both going for at least the playoffs and potential promotion. You look at Port Vale, Marcus, sitting in 3rd now. They can really strengthen their own place in the automatics with a win this evening, can't they?
Yeah, definitely. It's a tricky one, obviously, with the form that Salford have been on, but a hugely important late win at Barrow at the weekend. Vale were thoroughly deserving of that win, despite obviously it coming so late on. And it's been great to see their resurgence in the last few months. They're a team that really struggled for a few months to get that consistency of results after, for me, in the first half of the season, probably looking like the best team in League Two outside of Forest Green. So they've still got a lot of work to do to see a lot of automatic promotion, and it's a really tough trip to Salford, but they're in a good position, really hitting their straps at the moment to compete. I think one key battle will be that duo of Matt Smith and Brandon Thomas Asante against one of the meanest back lines in League Two. It'll be interesting to see how they get on. Obviously, Smith is probably a player that should still be playing in the Championship, to be honest. So yeah, really a tough challenge for them. But no, it'd be nice to see how they get on. It's a really evenly matched encounter of two teams that could potentially go head to head in the playoffs. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, really looking forward to seeing how this one plays out tonight between Salford and Port Vale. Wayne's going to go on YouTube for a 3-1 victory to the Ammies. Toby, how do you see this one playing out?
I think I'm going to head for the fence here. I think this is just a really tight game, isn't it? Two teams in strong form with sort of a lot to play for, and you know, a lot of quality, a lot of attacking threat in particular. You know, Port Vale have got goals coming from a lot of different sources. Salford, as Marcus touched on there, they've certainly got options as well. Brandon Thomas Asante hitting some good form. Matt Smith, obviously, such a huge presence up there as well. So yeah, as I say, tight game. I'm finding it hard to split these two, so I'll go for a 2-2 draw.
Okay, I'm going to see you on that fence. I think, Toby, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. Both in decent nick, aren't they, form-wise, and both so much riding on it as well. They probably both take a point, even if Salford are the home team. And Marcus, how do you see it go?
I'll go 2-1 Salford, just to keep the race a bit more interesting. I think it'll be a close one, maybe a late Matt Smith header from a long throw or something. 2-1 Salford.
Okay, we'll see what happens. That brings the Tuesday night preview to a close on Football League World TV, and that's it for programmes on the channel today. There'll be another show tomorrow looking ahead to Wednesday night's games in the EFL, so do catch that one. That's at 2:30. As well, Sam Rourke will be hosting that one. He's joined by Adam Jones and Ben Wignall. Toby and Marcus, great to get your thoughts this afternoon on the games coming up tonight. Toby, great to get your dog's thoughts as well on a couple of the matches at least. But some really interesting stuff to be said there, and hopefully we'll have some good games to look back on come Thursday when we do the midweek review show. People that have joined in with the comments, thanks for sending them in. Great to have your participation as always, and do remember to subscribe to Football League World TV on YouTube if you can, and like this video as well. That would be greatly appreciated by all of us here at Football League. Well, but for myself, Toby and Marcus, enjoy the football tonight, and we'll speak to you soon.